Clock is ticking in normal as the administration and union faculty members face off with a strike possible. Good Thursday evening. I'm Tyler Lopez.
And I'm Lizzie Siles. Thank you for joining us. The two groups met again today and they're scheduled to meet again tomorrow. But that's the same day that a strike authorization has already been approved. Taylor Fleming was on campus today for tonight's top story.
The union and the university administration have been trying to negotiate this contract for over a year, since February 2024.
Listen to the faculty!
Listen to the labor!
Listen to the labor!
Fair contract!
Fair contract! Now!
The United Faculty of ISU represents more than 650 tenure and tenure-track faculty at Illinois State University. Last week, they filed an intent to strike notice with the Illinois Educational Labor Relations Board. There is a 10-day cooling-off period after they give this notice. The union is ready to strike on April 4th, but whether leaders choose to do so depends on the ongoing contract negotiations.
Our table team are the ones who would call that. They're still in negotiations now, and it will probably be for several more hours if the history is any indication.
Negotiations between the university and the union bargaining teams took place on Thursday, and more are scheduled for Friday. The Vice President for Academic Affairs, Ani Yazdijian, shared some new offers from the university Thursday, like 6 weeks of parental leave for faculty and funding adjustments to support some merit-based raises and some raises for all faculty. The union supports raises for all members over raises based on performance. Yazdijian says she remains steadfast in her belief, even as the deadline for the first day of a strike draws near, that they can reach a mutually acceptable agreement that is fair, fiscally responsible, and sustainable in the long term. Another area where the two sides are far apart is student mental health.
One of the things that we want to see is an increase on the cap for student mental health visits. This is something that really affects our students, but it also affects our ability to do our jobs and to teach the students, make sure they get the education they deserve.
The university said that they are planning for the possibility of a strike, which they said would be an unfortunate event. Those negotiations will continue tomorrow, which could also be the first day of a strike if those negotiations go sour. Lizzie, Tyler.